Okay. I think we are live. Anyway, so what I was going to do, I get a lot of messages about the pros and cons of different compressors versus using a turbine. Okay, so let me look at that. So there's different compressors. I'll just go through the ones that we use, or the ones we started with, and kind of what we ended up with, and why I would choose one over another, and the different things this means. I think that a lot of the questions I get is it worth investing into a big kind of platinum Q, so a big turbine system, versus having a dual tank compressor. And then I will look at the little AS18s, because those kind of what people start off with. Then they go to a bigger tank, and then from there it's kind of, you decide on your volumes in terms of what it is that you want to do. There's no kind of right or wrong answer here. I think it's budget driven, and I think it's volume driven. So if you've got the money to invest into it because you're doing the volume, absolutely, probably makes sense. If you are spraying kind of less than 30-40 molds in a session, probably not something you'd invest to. You probably stay with the other system. So I think I'm getting, there's a couple of people joined us. So this is our first time on YouTube Live. We're giving it a go, but just trying to push that channel a little bit. Anyway, so let me explain what we've got. This is this is kind of little compressor that a lot of people start off with, right? So it's a modeling version, okay? It's an AS18. It's basically, there's a little motor on the back on this end of it, and then there's a tiny little kind of half-litre compressor here. It works for people that are starting off with airbrushing. It's just a really good start in terms of dipping your toe into airbrushing. Do I like it? Do I want to invest in it? Can I do more? That generally works with this type of airbrush. So that'll work with the dual action airbrush. It's okay if you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4 molds, right? If you're not spraying huge amounts, it's a good starter. Certainly, it's more managing the pressure, and it's understanding what the airbrush can do, because all this does is put air through this. These are lovely little machines. I started off with these. I've used these for years. I've used these for kind of, 15, 20 years or so. The drawback of this is you get lag, okay? And what that means is that you can spray 20, 30 seconds, but the motor is on constantly. So it never has a chance to build up pressure. The available pressure is a small amount. So you can set your pressure to kind of 30, 40 PSI. The motor's on constantly, and you spray a bit. What happens, you get this lag where the machine just runs out of pressure. So you run out of air, so you have to take your finger off the nozzle, off the trigger, sorry. Take your finger off the trigger, and you have to wait for the pressure to build up a lot. The other challenge you have is, always a motorbike. The other challenge you have is after 20, 30, 40 minutes, depending on how much you're spraying, this gets really, really hot. And it gets really, really hot. So you've either got to turn it off, or it ends up spraying kind of moisture through the hoses. So you end up using this water trap more. I love these. I think these are really good. If you're just doing one tiny little design, and you're just spraying 1 or 2, 3 molds, these are absolutely fantastic. They're really good value for money. You can certainly learn how to use the moisture trap on there. You can learn to set the pressures on it. It'll take, it'll take a 1/4 inch, take an eighth. It's an eighth of an inch, so 1/8 hose. So, and it'll work with those, absolutely fantastic. Once you start wanting to do more than 3, 4, 5 molds, you discover quite quickly you kind of haven't got enough air. And that's at the point where you invest the next step up. The next step up is going over to this here. This has been my preferred. This is a Sparmax. This is a TC620. It's an X. It's got dual ports on it, so I could run 2 hoses. I never have. I did try it with a learning class, and the problem is when everybody's making a demand for air, the lag is even worse. So like the dropout of air being available is it diminishes very, very quickly. 18th hose. eighth of an inch hose. You can change the hoses. They work with the dual action airbrushes. You can get the Killarney on there. You can get some good. You can get some trigger guns that will work with this, but again, you haven't quite got enough air for a trigger gun because of the amount of volume that's going through an air gun as opposed to an airbrush. I love this machine. It takes a little bit of maintenance. You need to, you regularly need to drain this tank. The more you use this, the more you need to drain the tank. Otherwise, it just goes rusty and end up with horrendous problems. Really easy to set, really easy to maintain. 30, 40 molds, 50 molds, just not a problem at all. There is a little bit of lag if you're spraying big volume. So if you're spraying block colors, but you can get around that by using your brush properly, by using this cutaway. Because if you hook that cutaway back there, you hook that back with your thumb, you can spray really good volume. Yeah, you can spray really good volume like that. So ideal for, if you've sprayed a load of designs, then you want to back them with white. It's absolutely ideal. Really easy to set the pressure. Again, these kind of, we've had this 3 years now. I think it was around a kind of £280 mark, £300 mark. Still going strong. It's still my go-to when I'm doing smaller designs, because I can put this airbrush on it. I can get quite intricate designs in my molds. Okay, so I can do nice fades. I can get some really nice detail. I can spray up to kind of 60 psi, and I can get some. Like I said, I can get some really nice designs, and I can manage the overspray. The overspray, be clear on this. Overspray is where it lands, not where you're aiming it, because it's oversprayed, right? So what happens is you get. If you spraying designs actually into the cavities, it's quite accurate, and you don't get as much wastage, okay, but it is slower. If you want to use your brush to back it with, right, and you hook back that and you want to spray big volume, you will get overspray, and you've got a couple of options. You can either wipe that off on a cloth, or you can just scrape off the excess onto some paper, and then when that's solidified, you can put that back into a container and you can melt it down again. As I said, I love this compressor. I don't get as much moisture go through the moisture traps. Easy to maintain, easy to set the pressure, easy to monitor what I'm doing. The controls are straightforward. This one is quite solid when it sits on the table. For anybody that's ever used these ones, these rattle around the table, and I've seen quite a few of these jump off the table. So with this TC620 by Sparmax, it's a little bit more solid. It's a suitcase size, so it's kind of transportable. I can take this to where I want to. I kind of like it. It's still my go-to, despite having the bigger, despite having a bigger turbine. I will still use a combination of both. Okay, so this is my go-to. What I would say with this one though, it's really important to not leave this turned off with air in it. Okay, so when you've finished using it, when you're absolutely finished, turn the machine off, empty all the air out, and it kind of locks the system so no moisture or no air can get back in, and it will kind of last a little bit longer. So that's that one. Lift that one out of the way. It ain't light either. Then we get over to this thing here. So this is part of the Fuji spray systems. This is their Platinum range. This is the Q5. Okay, this is Q5 by Platinum, by Fuji spray. Same brush that goes with it. This is the Model T, the 750. I think what's particular, we've got a 750 mil, so 750 gram cup on it. What I do like with this is you get this little extra. If I wanted to fill that up fully, because I'm spraying like 100 plus molds, we can. So if I wanted to fill that one fully, we can use that cup just as it is with the lid on it. Okay. If I wanted to do a small amount, like 100 grams or so, what I can do is just sit that in there, okay, and that sits in the bottom, and then I pour my colour into there, and just be very careful. Put the lid on. There's a little suction valve on the top of it. I'll explain how all this works, and then we can kind of just plug in and go, right? we can plug in and go, and we can spray. Okay, so we can go on and spray. This comes with some challenges. This comes with some major challenges. Okay, if you, from a teacher point of view, if you have never used like these type airbrushes and you don't understand air control and you don't understand setting the pressure, there isn't much opportunity to regulate things with this one. It's kind of on or off. Sprays an absolutely monster amount, okay, and the whole thing is geared around being able to spray very quickly. If I was doing one mold, we'll set that way. If I was doing one mold, you can pass 2 or 3 times, turn the mold, pass 2 or 3 times, okay? 20-30 seconds to completely cover a mold. The overspray is a challenge. So again, what you would do is just scrape off the excess onto some paper, and then wipe that one down. Very difficult to not have the overspray because of the way that this sprays. This sprays as a cone. Okay, so this sprays as a round cone going outwards. This one just sprays as a thin veil that goes all the way across. What happens is it's very difficult to get the very leading edges. So you end up, so this is why you get the overspray. You've got to spray it at an angle, and then spray it at an angle, and then get those angles. So you end up with much more cocoa butter coming out than you need, and then you would recover what you need. Like I said, 20-30 seconds, you completely cover a mold. Can't do any details, so it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to do ripples. You can do fades, but again, it's probably easier to use the smaller airbrush to get the detail in there, and then use the bigger gun when you're backing it. So if you were doing block colors, if we wanted to spray them all white, if we wanted to just back them with white, the point that I grab this is when we're doing, I want to say 50 molds or more. It depends on the design. If I'm back spraying 30-40 molds, yeah, we'll grab this. If I've got to block spray red, yellow, green, you know, whatever, primary, when I say block, it's just going to be 100% that color. We will always grab this. If I'm back spraying lots of white, or we're back spraying with a different color, I would always kind of opt to go with this. The trick though is making sure that you understand that you're going to need to recover the overspray. It's not easy to control the overspray. These weren't designed to spray small pieces like this. This thing will spray concrete, maybe not with this needle that I've got in here, but this is capable of spraying concrete. I'll show you the settings on this. The other thing with this one, let's say there's not much control. When you buy this, so this is the Platinum Q5 by Fuji Spray. When you buy this, it comes with a it's a 0.2 or a 0.4 needle, which is absolutely huge. If you try spraying with that, you're going to decorate your whole laboratory. You do need to get another needle. And the other needle, the needle that's in here at the minute, is the 0.8 needle. Just that needle alone was 130. So the decision to buy this will be based on the time saving. Okay, so yes, it's an expensive system, but you might recoup that just in time saved versus using an airbrush, right? This is going to take you a long time to spray 100 molds, right? This will spray 100 molds with just virtually no effort at all. So you will need to buy the 0.8. In terms of controls with this one, that's the hose for the Q7. That's the hose for the Sparmax, okay? They are hugely different, okay? With the Sparmax, I can really dial down the pressure. I can change the setting on the brush. I can limit how much cocoa butter comes out. So I can set the pressure and I can get real detail, and I can save overspray by spraying into the cavities, not across the cavities. With this one, there's a little dial here. There's a tiny little dial on the front here, and it goes, it's not even got numbers. It says minimum, maximum. We always have that on the minimum. Okay, if I turn that one up, when you press the trigger, you can feel the gun pull away. If I put that on number 10 and I spray, I've got to use 2 hands. That's the volume of pressure coming through. What's different about it? So we will always have that set on minimum. Okay, give you an idea of the volume of it. That's the volume of it on. Well, that's the volume of the sound when it's on. It's noisy, but you need to have this, ideally, this machine needs to be between 10 and 15 meters away from you. So it's likely that that would be in another room and not necessarily affecting you. When the turbine starts, the difference between them is that the TC, the Sparmax is a piston that fires back and forth and compresses the air into it. Same as the little AS18, it's compressing air. This is not a compressor, it's a turbine. So there's a fan in there. It doesn't matter, if I turn this one on and I pull the trigger, it will have the same, it will just maintain that same pressure of air coming through with absolutely no lag whatsoever. It will not change. So it's constantly on demand. So once you've set the parameters that you want to spray at, it's really good. It just doesn't change. Turbines just do not change. There's no lag in pressure. There's absolutely zero change in pressure. Even if your cocoa butter gets slightly thicker, you can just turn that dial up just you know, a couple of millimeters, and it will compensate for it. So great machine. In terms of control, on here, well, you can't see it on here, but in the bottom of there is a little ball valve, okay? And when I turn that ball valve, it closes. There we go, you might be able to see it. It opens and closes, okay? When it's facing down, it's fully open, so that's 100% air, okay? Where you have your dials, on the Sparmax, and you turn a little gauge, it's not the case with this. The only control of air volume that I've got is this little butterfly valve here, and as I push that upwards, that starts closing that little ball valve, okay, and it lessens the amount of air that can go through. That's all we've got. We can change how much paint goes through using this. So the pin is, I'll take this apart in a second, you can have a look at the needle in it. We pull the trigger. So on this side, I've got a little wheel, and that will change how wide an arc we spray. Okay, so the pressure is set in the turbine, so that's how much air is available. This little dial on the front here will just it'll either open that spray position, or it will close it down, so we're not spraying the full amount. The only other control we've got is we can, with this dial here, we can just lessen how much trigger pull there is. Okay, because if I screw that one in, it pushes the trigger forward, so that I've not got maximum paint coming through, or maximum cocoa butter coming through. In terms of controlling how fast it's spraying, everything comes down to this little valve here. We want it to, I'll tell you what it's very good at. It's very good at doing splatter. Okay, so where we might grab a paintbrush and flick, you know, cocoa butter, and then you've got to go and clean the whole street. What we can do with this one, I'm not going to turn it on because it will just make a mess everywhere. What you can do is you put a piece of paper down, and you would spray, and then just turn this valve down until you just see this splattering effect, okay? And then you could just line up all of your molds and just go across and spray the whole thing. Okay, you absolutely spray the whole thing. Bear with me a second. So that's the level of control you've got. That's it. So it's you really need to master what's going on with, you know, I think once you've mastered using the smaller airbrushes, and you've mastered using and controlling the pressure with this one, and setting the pressure using the dial on the Sparmax. Somebody at the door, and I'm going to have to wait one. Sorry. So I think once you've mastered that, then this one becomes quite straightforward, because this will save you time. You can spray huge volumes with this, but you can't get the detail. Like I said, it's very good for splatter. You can get a smaller gun that fits on here. You can get a smaller air gun that goes on here. It's just that the pressure's too much. If your cocoa butter's too thin, what happens is if you spray into individual cavities, it just fires it everywhere. So you've got to start turning this butterfly hose down. They're two very, very good systems. They're two very, very differently priced systems. Okay, what I would say is that we would still use this for. It's very strange going from holding that gun to this tiny one here. I love using these. I love the artistic opportunity you have by using a smaller airbrush. You can do fantastic details. You can spray. So you've got a bit of a mix of both. If you wanted to fade on one side, or you wanted to spray ripples, or you wanted to just do some slightly different designs and start layering things up, at the point that you wanted to back spray, or say for example we were spraying copper as a ripple, I might, and then back it with black, I would just spray the black through this. This fits in the dehydrator, so we'll just put the whole thing in one go. Again, if I don't want to spray a huge amount, rather than dirtying that, we'll just put that one in. Okay, we'll just put in that. It's a little cup that fits in there. Okay, little cup that fits in there. So it'll give me an opportunity. It takes some rehearsing. As I said, the whole thing is geared around recovering cocoa butter. It is messy and it gets very, very misty. You would need an extractor. And you need to put some paper down, and you need to scrape every single mold. Every single one will need scraping to get the excess cocoa butter off, so that you can recover it. Otherwise, you're going to waste an absolute fortune. If I turn that dial up to maximum and I put 750ml in there and I pulled the trigger, I bet I could empty that whole container probably in less than a minute. So that's the speed of waste that you could get if you don't kind of control those systems. There's other things that we can do. We can spray, so whether you wanted to spray that way, so if you spray across it, we would have this facing north to south. If we wanted to have it go sideways, okay, because we wanted to spray up and down, we can do that, okay. That dial on this side will just change how much that gap opens. So we can spray a wide gap that might cover the whole of that, or we can lessen it down so that we're just spraying 2 rows, or we can open it up so we get all 4 rows. The problem with that is you get these little void spaces, okay? So when you turn the chocolates out, when you're doing that kind of volume, when you turn the chocolates out, you see little corners. It looks like it's marbled, where the colour, and honestly, you still get the same thing with this. With this one, you've got an ability to curve around the mold, or certainly spray and then curve around it to get those edges. We would always spray the edges first and then the centre. If we spray the centre, then the edges, we end up blowing all the cocoa butter into the middle. So we can do lovely little designs with this, and then we can spray with this. In terms of the needle, I mean, these are really easy to clean because there's not a lot to go wrong. This is just a spring-loaded lock that holds the needle in. The needle, it looks quite chunky. That was a replacement for it. I think that one was about 120, 130 pounds just for the needle, so you need to protect them. Not a lot to go wrong with this. In terms of them cleaning them down, there's a little screwdriver that goes on the front here. So when you get the spare, I mean, that's literally the whole thing pulled apart, right? That's the whole thing sprayed, pulled apart. When you get the spare needle, you get that bit, and the needle, the rest of it all remains the same. Doesn't require much maintenance. I can put that whole thing into the dehydrator, get it warmed, and then get it. You know, I can either spray cocoa butter through it. If I can show you what this valve does. I can't really see up into it. When we turn this little valve on the side, what it does is it just shuts down where it hits in there, so it either opens as a wide arc or a narrow arc. Delivery Central outside today. Right, I'm gonna have to get this one. Sorry, I had to go and get. I had to go and get rid of the. To go and get all the parcels gone. So, not a lot to go wrong with it. Not difficult to maintain. We can put that in the dehydrator and then just, you know, give it a wipe out, put it all back together, put it in the box. I don't necessarily need to warm this when I use this. We'll give it a quick warm with a hairdryer. And we'll put the cocoa butter in, and then we're off and spraying, like once we're set up. So it's very, very quick. Whereas with these ones, yeah, they do need warming through. The air that comes through these compressors, these get really, really hot. The air that comes through is kind of normally 18 to 20 degrees. Obviously, the longer you use it, the hotter that's going to get. But the idea is that this is 10, 15 meters away, and we've got that long length of hose. There's 12 meters of hose there. Sorry, there's 13 meters of hose there, which and it's wrapped. It's armored hosing, but that will cool down. So we wouldn't leave it in a coil. I've seen some chefs leave it in a coil and have it next to them. What happens is the air gets too hot. This needs to be at full length because we want the air to circulate around it while it cools down a little bit. I don't know if there's any questions because I can't see. I know there's a few people here watching. Has anybody got any questions? Anybody want to ask anything? I can see Nettie, I can see Salvatore, hello, Ran, hello everybody. I think that kind of covered everything. I think, you know, the decision, as I said, the decision will be with spraying with this, 20, 30, 40 molds, you kind of do them in stages. You might spend a few hours doing that. And it's nice to do those smaller designs. And like I said, we will do a mix of both. So we'll use this to put in some preliminary, you know, different cocoa butters, different designs, different shimmies, or different shimmer colors, or different effects to it. And then we'll use the bigger turbine just to back spray, so it's a quicker process, and then recover that cocoa butter back. Both have their uses. I think it's all determined by volume. So in terms of all in with the brush and the turbine, I think it's around about 1800, which seems a lot. It does seem a lot, but I think in terms of the speed and volume that you could spray, if you're doing big volume, you can turn this on and you can kind of be done in 30 minutes or so. Whereas with this airbrush, yeah, it's going to be a few hours. This will produce a lot of waste, so you've got to really control how much you recover. I think the other thing is that, you know, with this one, there's a noise to put up with. There is that everything needs to be ready before you would spray, but it's quick to put together and, you know, you're away. If you leave this with all the cocoa butter in it, it's an absolute nightmare to clean then afterwards. But both have their uses. Both are ones that we'd employ both of them. Anything kind of less than, I want to say 30 molds, we probably won't use the turbine. Again, it depends on how quickly I want it. We get some orders that, you know, they 24-hour turnaround, which is fine. We will simplify the design and then we will block spray everything, or we'll spray, you know, this is really good for doing splatter, but you can do multiple colors, as long as you scrape it off in between. Otherwise, you're going to have a bunch of cocoa butter that's all mixed, and then you can't recover it. You can't use it for anything. So, not a lot to go wrong with it. I think if anybody's got any questions, you're more than free. There's 28 people watching, so should we put this back together? Not a lot to go wrong with these. Really not a lot to go wrong with it. I think it's really the master. I will do some more posts on well, I'll do some more posts on this. Anybody got any questions? I can't even read any from here. I can't see anything. If nobody's got any questions, then I'm going I will post this back onto the channel. I think that, who you got a question? Have you got a question? No? No? Okay. So, I'm going to save this and I will post this onto the channel. Thanks for tuning in. This is our first go on YouTube, so I hope it all comes through. Thank you for joining.